Hey kids, I want to talk about the curious case of the Transcendent Catan. So you're on Games Workshop's website because you want to pay over odds for the models you want to play with, and you're trying to search for Transcendent Catan when you can figure out how to spell it. The only returned results are the Tesseract Vault or Obelisk kit, which comes with the Transcendent Catan, and this homunculus. He's not hiding a Catan in there, he's just pleased to see you. This is because the Transcendent Catan is only available to be purchased inside the kit that is the Tesseract/Obelisk kit. That's right, if you want this little gribbly bastard, you must pay £120 from Games Workshop, or around £100 from another retailer, I guess, for the Obelisk / whatever the fuck the other thing's called. Now, some of you are thinking, who gives a fuck, Vince? Why do I care? Well, I think it's super interesting because the Transcendent Catan is the non-named Catan. You can play 3 of these, and if you buy them via the Games Workshop method of getting hold of them, you've got to buy 3 £100 kits to play with the little gribbly man that comes inside. Meanwhile, the named ones, like the Deceiver or the Nightbringer, I'm not going to get my Void Dragon down, I can't bother to walk across the room. This one got a new kit, and he's looking pretty good. I've just painted him. Anyway, these guys come with their own kits that you can buy and play with. And these guys are unique, legendary, heroic, or whatever the term is in Warhammer 40k, where you can only play 1 of them. Meanwhile, Transcendent Catan, you can play 3. And if you did not know, the new Catan rules are really good. They've all just got to glow up, so everyone's playing between 2 and 5 of them, the people playing Necrons. I'm playing 2 Catan this weekend, the Deceiver and the Nightbringer at Beachhead. I'll probably talk more about them next week. Elephant, star god-shaped elephant in the room. They're too good. They're absolutely undercosted for what they can do, but I'll talk more about that next week when I have some reps under my belt, so I'm not just guffing hot air into a room like I normally do. So people resort to, originally the Forge world based in China, if you know what I mean, or in the recent developments within the modeling world, people are 3D printing Transcendent Catan, kit bashing proxies, 3D printing copyright non-infringing ones too. Here's what I found on Google. This is a Transcendent Catan proxy stand-in, if you will. But it's so fucking bizarre to me that Games Workshop just haven't given us a new Transcendent Catan model. Like, the Nightbringer's just got updated. He used to look like this, and now he looks like this. And the Void Dragon came to us 5 years ago. And next up, I guess the Deceiver is due an update sometime in 11.12 edition. Sometime in the next 5 years, we'll get a new Deceiver model with a bigger base and a fancier model because he looks very fucking derpy. Meanwhile, this sculpt is pretty decent, if I'm completely honest with you, but it's fucking crazy that you have to buy it within another set. And this made me start thinking about how this isn't uncommon. In the case of the Transcendent Catan, if you look at the sprue, it's literally on a main part of the sprue with the rest of it, as if they hadn't considered that this would be playable outside of this kit at some point in the future. And this is not uncommon in Games Workshop. They will often release characters that are on the same sprue as one another as part of box sets. This normally happens with Space Marine characters in like Imperium, Dark Imperium, in Indomitus, in Leviathan, all of these characters, and the other characters that aren't Space Marines too. This happens with Necrons as well. They're all on the same sprue. So when someone wants to actually just get one of those models, they cannot. The character has not been released on its own. So if you want a Scorpic Lord, you're going to buy the Necron Royal Court kit, which is a box that comes with the Scorpic Lord, the Plasmancer, the Canoptic Reanimator, and 2 of the little gribblies here. I forget what they're called. Crypto Thralls. Because the sprue looks like this. A hot fucking mess. There's just bits all over the place. And that makes sense because you're trying to like compact it down to a flat thing to fit it as much as you can into a box so it all gets put on different sprues. What happens then is that when Games Workshop want to sell the character on its own, they can't. It's locked in because they don't want to print loads of those sprues, or injection mold them, should I say, and then clip off that character individually and put it in a thing. They also don't seem to want to spend any money to just rejig and move that character onto its own sprue. So it will never come in its own individual box like this. This has been happening for like the best part of 7 years at this point, if not longer. And there are other characters stuck on vehicle sprues, much more expensive kits. The Whir Boy, for example, this little guy, if you really want to build him, you gotta go and buy a kill rig. So he is also similarly locked within a much more expensive vehicle kit if you want one. But with a Whir Boy, it's just a topless orc screaming with some stuff stuck on his head. You can kit bash that pretty damn easy. The Transcendent Catan is unique in what it looks like and does, and it's a big monster. It's like a 300-point monster. You'd think they want to sell that, especially when they just rejig the rules. It's so bizarre that it's stuck and stranded in a kit like that. Now, of course, if we don our conspiratorial hats, the reason they do this is because it allows them to sell big kits to people. And maybe once upon a time it did, but nowadays it really makes people resort to going to Etsy to buy a resin version of said model. If anything, I think it's actually damaging their sales. They could sell a boatload of Transcendent Catan kits if they just rejigged the sprue or redesigned it entirely, I guess, to put on a new new sprue. I guess we'll get that eventually. And the other flip way they could do this to make it less frustrating for people like myself who just find it all a very bizarre business choice is to remove the option to play with it as an individual thing. We're seeing a move towards what you get in the box is what you can build and play, and thus when they released a whole swath of characters like the recent Ultramarine Wardens, although this one does have Titus in it, which is a separate unit, but the rest of them, these cool people, all play together as a model datasheet of mixed stats and extra equipment, and it becomes very messy. We see this with kill teams, with all the mixed gear, and we see it again with the upcoming collection of guys for the Chaos Space Marines. Instead of that being a box that you buy and you play each individual character inside separately, like the court, the Conoptech court, or the court of Necrons or whatever, instead, all of those characters are lumped together as one datasheet, which is really impractical. Impractical in the sense that it lacks customization and feels cumbersome and frustrating to resolve. Trying to resolve a mixed datasheet, Gaunt's Ghost is another example. Fuck Gaunt's Ghosts and their mixed guns and blades and weapons. When someone else is resolving Gaunt's Ghost against me, my eyes glaze over. I get fucking bored. So I don't want to see that. Can you imagine if the Conoptech Court or any of the heroes of the chapter? These are just two characters in a Stern Guard veteran unit that was in Leviathan that is now a box you can buy. They have released a multi-part alternative Stern Guard kit, so at least the Stern Guard aren't just locked to you having to buy yourself another copy of the Phobos Lieutenant with the combi weapon and the Biologus, Apothecary Biologus. But either way, can you imagine if they push really towards this, where the thing you get in the box is how it's built, and you have to play those two models with the other guys? That would suck, and I'm glad they don't do that for everything. So is it them trying to get you to buy more plastic you don't need? I don't really think so. Individual characters like the Biologus Apothecary or the Phobos Lieutenant, they sell for £30. So selling you a £70 kit with a unit of 5 men and 2 characters in it is actually a discount in a way. There is just some sort of reluctance to move away from this method of sticking everything on a sprue for a box set and then keeping it that way. Never ever returning to carve the unit off of that fucking sprue and redesign it in CAD. It's just fucking strange to me because all it takes, it's still an undertaking by a designer, but someone at Games Workshop needs to go on CAD and move those parts around and create a new sprue that is separately just that character so that they can resell it. That is a thing they could do. If they were a small independent games company that couldn't do that, I would just be like, look, they haven't got the resources, they haven't got the manpower, person power, whatever. But this is Games motherfucking Workshop. They've got the people to be able to do this if they wanted to. Why aren't they? I guess really the reality is maybe Games Workshop does function a bit more like a mom and pop independent than I appreciate, or a lot of us appreciate. It makes so much money and the IP and the product is so successful and popular, but I wonder if the teams are still relatively small and they are working in that, actually, we're such a small team, we need to move on to the next thing. We haven't got time to go back and carve up and re-CAD design these characters that stuck on sprues from Leviathan. So we're back at it. The Transcendent Catans that you see on tabletops, I would hazard a guess, especially at events where people want to play multiple of them in tournaments and competitive play, people are 3D printing, resin printing, and sculpting, whatever. None of them were official GW. And ultimately, I actually think that's quite a good thing. I love seeing people play unofficial proxies that aren't copyright infringing. I love people playing unique sculpts, things that have been modeled and 3D printed by third parties, kit bashes. I think that makes the hobby feel much more exciting and interesting. Of course, it is an argument about profiles. If it doesn't look like a Transcendent Catan, then it's hard to tell at a glance it's a Transcendent Catan. But if I put up points to one thing and say it's a Transcendent Catan, I'm not really going to forget that dribbly, flippily, tentacly man is a Transcendent Catan during the game. I think that's not really a valid point. But that's a different video entirely. Anyway, that was my little ramble. But I'm just so confused. When I wanted to buy a Transcendent Catan, I had to go to the secondary market and buy it on eBay, but it's been split out from the Tesseract Vault, which is so dumb. It's like you have in trading cards where you get a precon deck where one card is good and you buy the precon just for that card. But that's not necessarily the case because later down the line, it's not exactly the same because Wizards of the Coast will reprint that card eventually into a set or another precon or some other way. Games Workshop never do the actual reprint into another setting. They will remake the product over and over. Remake's not the right word. They will print the product over and over and over. Tesseract Vaults are still available to buy on the Games Workshop website, unlike the Heroes of the Chapter and stuff that I currently have stock. But they won't reprint or remake it into its own individual parts or into another set. The Tesseract Vault Catan, the Transcendent Catan, it won't show up in another set or another unit later down the line. It won't happen. I just don't understand why. It boggles the fucking mind. Thanks for coming to my weird little anecdotal thing, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.